Hi, everyone. Welcome again to Enjoy English School. I'm Bruce.
I'm Antony.
Today and tomorrow, we have lessons on destinations. That refers to where you are going to go. And so it suggests, because destination is not to the corner store or to your school, it's a long distance. So you're going to take a trip or take a voyage to a new and interesting and exciting place. And we are going to Japan for the next 2 days.
没错，我们今天行骗天价的单元呢，要带大家去哪里玩？我们要去日本东北的地方。我们今天要介绍的是到日本探索雪怪奇景。在英文里面呢，你会看到 The Snow Monsters of Japan。好，如果有机会，你们可以到东北地方的话，也许到山形县、宫城县那边有非常非常多的温泉啦，还有一些旅游胜地。我们赶快来看看今天内容吧。
The Snow Monsters of Japan. The Zao Mountains are an important tourist destination in Japan. Listed as one of Japan's 100 famous mountains, they are just a few hours from Tokyo by bullet train. People like to visit the region for skiing, hot springs, and nature. The climate of these mountains creates a special phenomenon between December and March every year. It only happens when there is the right amount of snow, the right amount of wind, and temperatures of about minus 15 degrees Celsius. When the conditions are perfect, the trees on the slopes will trap the blowing water droplets and turn into beautiful snow monsters, or juhyo. These natural sculptures look like giant snowmen posing in interesting positions. There are many different ways for visitors to observe the juhyo. Skiers can travel through forests full of these snow monsters. For those who don't plan on skiing, there is the Zao ropeway, which allows visitors to see the fields from above in a cable car. At nighttime, there are colorful lights to make the juhyo look even more mysterious and magical. To get there, visitors can ride in a vehicle that travels on snow.
Okay, the title is How Zao Mountains Juhyo are in danger of disappearing. Well, we'll have to clear up these Japanese terms. Me first. There's a mountainous area in Japan. No surprise, Japan is almost all mountains anyway. But in the northeast of the main island of Honshu, there is a very unusual and interesting phenomenon there, which has attracted millions of people over many, many years to see in the wintertime. And we're going to share that with you today.
没错，在这个副标题这边呢，你会看到这个 Zao Mountains 指的就是藏王连峰，也就是他们一个很长的一个山脉哦。它这个 ZAO， 它把这个 A 跟 O 要分开来是 Zao 哦 ，Zao 就是藏王的意思。然后后面还有一个字叫 Juhyo。Juhyo 的话就是他们的那种雪怪的那种日文，所以在这边的话，在念起来，其实说实在话，因为毕竟不是英文嘛，所以念起来会比较特别一点。他说，剖析藏王戍兵面临消失的危机。如果提到全球暖化，提到气候变迁，一定也有机会提到很多地方的一些奇景，慢慢的因为全球暖化而消失了。我们来看一下第一段的部分吧。
Okay, our first paragraph. The Zao Mountains are an important tourist destination in Japan. Most of us have been tourists. When you go to, even in your own country, when you go to a place that is new to you, and it's a place that a lot of people like to visit for many different reasons, then you are a tourist too. And the business of tourists is tourism. So IST being ISM, tourism, is a very large industry internationally. So if you're going to Japan this year, next year, or in 10 years, listen to the program and try to remember some of the details and go there and have some fun.Yeah,
没错，我们来看第一段第一句话，告诉你说 The Zao Mountains 就是我们的藏王连峰are an important tourist destination in Japan. 提到旅游胜地，除了这边可以使用 tourist destination 之外，你还有机会听到 tourist spots、tourist attractions 这样的方式去表达旅游胜地。那如果这个旅游胜地非常热门，我们常常可以使用形容词 popular， 用 popular 来形容这个旅游胜地哦。
Listed as one of Japan's 100 famous mountains, they are just a few hours from Tokyo by bullet train. By now you know about the bullet train. We have one in Taiwan from Taipei down to 左营 in Kaohsiung. That's fun. I took it once, and even in Europe, I never took one. So for me, it was a really exciting ride. I liked it very much. And Japan was one of the first countries to develop these bullet trains. Now, there are lists of everything, the 10 biggest lakes and the 100 largest cities and this sort of thing. Well, Japan has its own list, too, because there are so many mountains in Japan. They've decided on the top 100, so there must be many more everywhere you're in Japan. There seems to be a mountain within view of you. Now, although it's some distance away from Tokyo, which is probably where you would fly to when you fly to Japan, it's just a couple of hours from there to the area we're going to discuss today. And we'll introduce the snow monsters there.
Yeah, 雪怪。OK， 我们来先看这句话。他说 listed as one of Japan's 100 famous mountains， 也就是它被名列于这个日本的100大山岳之一哦。那他就说了 ，They're just a few hours from Tokyo。它距离东京呢，其实只要搭这个 by bullet train， 就是新干线的话，新干线。你要上去的话，只要几个小时就可以到了。也许你很熟悉东京，但如果有机会的话，你可以搭新干线到这个地方，然后呢，只要花几个小时就可以感受到这边的氛围。
People like to visit the region for skiing, hot springs, and nature. Well, all three. You can't go skiing in the summer, and on the southern islands, I don't suppose it's very popular. But on the Big Island, and especially way up north in Hokkaido, the northernmost island, you can enjoy cold snow by skiing, and then you can go into a really great hot springs where you can warm up and maybe even share it with some monkeys.
对，没有错。老师这边提到，就是说，如果有机会在冬天的话，你可以在这边，或是在更往北海道那边，你可以享受雪景。然后可以泡温泉，有冷的，有热的，甚至有些地方的温泉，你还可以跟猴子一起泡，然后猴子会看你在那，你怎么在泡我平常泡的位置啊？这样很有趣的那种感觉哦。所以这边这句话说 ，People like to visit the region 就是这个区域 for skiing 滑雪啦 ，hot springs 还有温泉啦 ，and nature 还有享受那边的大自然环境。
So we'll talk about all of these specific points in the following and tomorrow's lesson. Let's take a short break. Okay, we're ready now for our second paragraph. The climate of these mountains creates a special phenomenon between December and March. Well, December to March is definitely winter if you're up here in the northern hemisphere. And winter is a very different climate from summer, very different, especially if you're from Taiwan. So it shouldn't be surprising that if you have a lot of difference between your summer and your winter, that there might be some phenomena. We're going to be focusing on one of these phenomena, I should say. There are many others I could describe because I come from a very, very snowy region of the United States. but we're going to focus on one today. Now, I've said phenomenon and phenomena, what's going on. In your book, you have on at the end. Phenomenon is the singular, but the plural will take off the on and write a instead and pronounce it phenomena is several phenomena.
OK， 所以这边的话特别注意一下 phenomenon 这个字，你可以念成 phenomenon or phenomenon 都可以，好，指的是现象。老师刚刚特别提到 phenomenon on 结尾的是单数型，那它这个字的复数型比较特别，是把 on 拿掉变成 a， 就变成 phenomena， 好，是复数型的形态。所以整句话意思就是说呢，每年12月到3月这段期间呢，这些山区的气候会促成一个特殊的现象，这个现象就是 phenomenon。好，这边要特别注意一下，有机会听到人念 phenomenon、phenomenon 都是指单数的现象哦。
It only happens when there is the right amount of snow, the right amount of wind, and temperatures of about minus 15 degrees Celsius. It refers to the phenomenon that we're introducing to you today and tomorrow. It only happens, it's not from December to March every day. Maybe some years it doesn't even happen. But if you're going to see it, you should plan on going there in winter and on days which have just the right amount of snow, wind, and a pretty cold temperature. Minus 15 is, I think, between 0 and 10 degrees Fahrenheit. Where I come from, we have minus Fahrenheit, so it's much colder even than here. But you should dress warmly, very warmly, because you're not used to really cold weather.
OK， 所以这边的话，我们先注意一下，他这边提到说，不是常常有机会看得到，它需要一些特定的条件。It only happens when there's the right amount of snow， 雪量要刚刚好 ，and the right amount of wind， 好，风的话也要适当，不能吹太狂，也不能吹太弱。然后呢 ，and temperatures of about minus 15 degrees Celsius， 然后温度差不多是在摄氏零下15度的时候，才会刚刚好有机会看到我们这些特殊的这个现象，就是树冰。
Well, I just figured it out. It is 5 degrees Fahrenheit, 5 degrees above zero, which is cold.
很冷。
When the conditions are perfect, the wind, the snow, and the temperature, the trees on the slopes, a slope is like this. It's not straight up and down. It could be a hill or a mountain, but it curves. The land curves upwards on a slope. Will trap the blowing water droplets. Trap is to capture or to keep something. There are water droplets up there. I'm not sure why that would happen, but we'll take their word for it. And turn into beautiful snow monsters or juhyo.
That's right.
Turn into is to change into. So basically, from water, snow is water that is frozen, right? And we're dealing with the same kind of phenomenon. There's wind to blow water, and the water will go into a very cold area, freeze, and when it lands on trees or rocks, it creates its own sculptures, natural sculptures.
太酷了。所以你看那个地方，他讲说了 ，when the conditions are perfect， 好，当今天所有的条件跟情况都完美的时候呢 ，the trees on the slopes， 好，在这个山坡上的树呢，有机会 will trap the blowing water droplets， 好，这个一些小小你看不见那种小水滴，它这样风这样吹上来的时候，它有机会去把它这些水滴这种水汽，把它留在这个树上面 ，and turn into beautiful snow monsters or juhyo。好，就是这个树冰，所以这些树呢吸了水汽之后，这个水汽凝结在树上面，然后把这些树都变成像是雕刻一样非常非常漂亮的树冰。
These natural sculptures, he was just describing this idea of, say, a tree covered with ice, and the wind has blown the ice into interesting designs. So it's a little bit shocking at first, so they're called snow monsters. They look like giant snowmen. You've seen pictures of the biggest ball of snow is on the bottom, a slightly smaller one in the middle, and then a much smaller one for the head. And you can put a carrot for the nose and coal for the eyes. You can play around with snowmen if you've got the right conditions. That's not every day in winter. They look like giant snowmen posing, pretending there are no real snowmen there, but the trees and other objects covered with snow and blown by the wind look like they're, we would say, striking a pose. S-T-R-I-K-E. S-T-R-I-K-E really means to hit. But the idea, if you strike a pose, you assume a position that's exciting to look at. That's really different. So they're interesting positions or sculptures.
Yeah, 没错。所以这里的话呢，老师提到，就像是那个模特儿会摆姿势一样。所以今天他这些树呢，就会出现了非常多那种千姿百态。OK， 他这边他提到说 ，these natural sculptures 这些天然形成的这些雕塑呢，这种雕像 look like giant snowmen， 好，很像巨大的雪人，好，摆出各式各样有趣的姿势。Posing in interesting position， 这个 posing 的话就是摆姿势的意思。
Okay, that's it for that paragraph. We'll take a really short break and come back and continue. Okay, now we have our final paragraph for today, but remember, this is a 2-day lesson, so we have a lot more. Make sure you join us tomorrow. Now let's finish today's lesson. There are many different ways for visitors to observe the Juhyo. Different ways are different types of things. And if you're a visitor, how do you want to see these sculptures? Well, they tell you in just a minute.
Yeah, 所以这边的话，我们看这一段的第一句话，他说 There are many different ways for visitors to do something. To do what? To observe the Juhyo. 好，就是 observe 的意思不是近距离的观察，这个字有非常非常多的意思。在这边的话，其实我比较想把它翻成欣赏，可以去好好的看一看这样的感觉。游客呢，可以透过不同的方式去欣赏这些树冰。
Skiers can travel through forests full of these snow monsters. Skiers have the advantage of being able to travel, get around areas that would take you all day or two just to walk along, and they can very quickly go in 10 minutes, 20 minutes, they can go through a large area on their skis, and that's where most of the snow monsters are. They form around trees, which are tall, much taller than people, and in very interesting designs or patterns that you've never seen before.
没错。然后现在告诉你说了 ，skiers 滑雪的这些游客呢 ，can travel through forests 啊 ，forest 就是森林的意思。它呢full of these snow monsters， 这些森林里面就充满这些雪怪。不要忘记了，森林就有很多树，这些树抓了水汽之后呢，困住水汽之后，它就形成了这种像雪怪一样的这种雕塑嘛。所以说，今天你可以是用滑雪的方式，很快速的在这些森林里面穿梭，然后去欣赏这些雪怪的那种各式各样的这种姿态。
For those who don't plan on skiing, there is the Zio ropeway, which allows visitors to see the fields from above in a cable car. A cable car is like a train, but in a high altitude area. There's a very long, strong string. I shouldn't say string
Rope?
because it's cable. Cable.
That's
what it's called. Cable car. Cable is very thick steel in order to hold these cars. These cars can sometimes hold 20 people or more and will take you from a low altitude up. And sometimes you can brake in different stations on the way up if it's a very tall mountain. So you don't have to go skiing to see the snow monsters. The Zio ropeway, the rope represents the cable. I'm sure it's not actually rope because if it's very heavy, the rope even strong rope won't hold that many people. This allows visitors to see the fields from above in the cable cars. That's what we described just a moment ago. And because you're above the land, you can see above the trees and beyond the trees, long distances. So cables can be a very exciting and beautiful experience.
没错，相较于这个你在滑雪的时候，你的视角是仰望这些树冰嘛，对不对？我们现在看另外一种 ，For those who don't plan on skiing， 对于那些不滑雪的人来说呢 ，There's a Zao ropeway， 好，就是他们有藏王的这个缆车 ，which allows visitors to see the fields from above in a cable car， 所以他就可以有机会去从比较高的地方去俯瞰这些树冰，一个是滑雪的仰望，另外一个是俯瞰，对不对？你就可以搭这种藏王缆车，然后搭了之后，可以在高处去俯瞰整个原野这样的这种景观。
At nighttime, there are colorful lights to make the Juhyo look even more mysterious and magical. This means they already look magical and mysterious in the daytime, but at night, if you're in the cable car, first of all, you're looking down on them, and they are illuminated by colored lights. So in addition to the strange pattern and design of the snow monsters, now there's color added to it as well. So it's, they say, mysterious and magical. It's something you've never seen before.
老师刚刚用到一个很重要的字叫 illuminate，illuminate 就是照亮的意思。然后他说这个地方 is illuminated by 就是被什么东西所照亮的。我们来看一下这句话，他说 at nighttime， 好，到了夜晚的时候呢 there are colorful lights， 就是有各式各样五彩缤纷的灯光 to make the Juhyo look even more mysterious and magical。在白天的时候，它看起来已经非常非常神秘，而且非常非常魔幻了。可到晚上之后，打上灯光之后，有更美、更魔幻的那种奇妙感受。
To get there, visitors can ride in a vehicle that travels on snow. So it seems to me there are a couple ways you can see the snow monsters. You can take the cable car and then look down on them from above, or they have a special kind of car, which is a vehicle. A vehicle has wheels and moves people around. Lots and lots of kinds of vehicles. So this can travel on snow. Well, that's convenient. Instead of sinking into the snow, it would be like being on a huge ski. And you can travel through the forest and see the weird shapes and beautiful colors of our snow monsters.
没错，所以在这边的话告诉你说 to get there， 好，要抵达那个地方的话呢 visitors can ride in a vehicle 就是指交通工具的意思，车辆等等 that travels on snow。 我记得我们昨天才讲过那个 snow biking， 对不对？snow bike 说不定他那边也有啊，对不对？有机会可以去骑一下，顺便去看一下这个雪怪树冰，感觉上是真的很酷。
Okay. Today we are finished, but this is day one, so don't cry. We'll be back tomorrow to finish up and give you more information on this unusual but beautiful natural phenomenon. Until then,
bye-bye.